And hello, and give me just a second here. We're getting ready to start. Just gotta pop out the chat and then go boo. Good evening and welcome, and what a surprise, huh? The second I get on. Yeah. And welcome to 3D Sculpted Printed Miniatures. I'm going to be sculpting, as the title says, an evil Prime Minister. So since there's only me in the chat right now, if you are if you are a first-time watcher, don't forget to like, subscribe, bell icon, and boof to kitty. Boof to kitty. And any cubic photon, over here is great for printing miniatures. Anyway, so tonight, as I said, we're going to be sculpting an evil Prime Minister, or we're going to be at least starting the sculpt. I'm not sure I'll be able to finish it during the broadcast. Because of responsibilities I have right now, I can't go long on the broadcast. And look at this. My cats are so feral. They're so wild. And they don't like people at all. I mean, look at this. How many cats let you scratch their belly like that? Yeah. And then, yeah. Snuffle. Alright, I gotta put you down on the floor now, little fuzz butt. Go on. Shoot. Shoot. Yep. Okay. Now, this evil Prime Minister is actually going to be the last figure I have to sculpt for the project I've been working on. The next Kickstarter. I mean, I haven't printed the soldiers yet, but I printed my Necromancer. His specters. They came up pretty nice and pretty spooky. Minotaur Lord and his two minions. Also Minotaurs, obviously. With an interesting take on what a great axe might look like. And then we've got the Storm Wyvern. The Feldrake and the lesser Feldrakes. There's actually two of them. And then the Frost Chimera. Now, with the evil Prime Minister and soldiers who are under his command, that makes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 enemies with minions. Although the Chimera and the Storm Wyvern don't have minions, they don't need them. We did the soldier the other night. Tuesday, we finished the soldier. Put this back. No fuzz. No. Down you go. Go on. Shoot. And of course we got Shinji over here. Once again, so feral, so doesn't like anybody. Anyway, so we're going to do the Prime Minister. Now, the Prime Minister won't himself be a high-level challenge. He's a nobleman. He's lazy. He might be decent with a rapier, but that's about it. No, he's got the entire resources of the country behind him. No fuzz. No. So, you're not facing a challenge to fight. You're facing a challenge to outwit with the evil Prime Minister. So, we're going to go ahead. I'm going to snap my fingers. That was pathetic. And I'm going to load in my male figure. And now, first thing that we're going to do is I'm going to go into clothing. He's going to get, he's not going to have boot cuffs because of the way his clothing is going to be. He is going to have a tunic skirt. And we'll give him a rapier, just because he might use one if he really has to. So we'll put it in his right hand. Make sure that the rapier blade is a little bit wider, because that's more. We need to make sure what. The reason why we made the blade wider is for printing on FDM printers. It won't print well on your plastic printers if it was still like super thin. This can print well on a resin printer. On a FDM plastic printer, not so much. So we just make the blade a bit wider, and we're going to hide it so we can pose him. We're also going to hide the tunic so we can pose him. Now, he's going to be arrogant and, ah ha ha. So the first thing is he's going to have his hips cocked. Bring it forward a bit and to one side. Let's see. Now, when I'm doing poses, I'll occasionally stand up and try the pose. So cock back. Okay, so that's how it would do. Cock like that. And then we're going to bring the leg down and forward. I'm going to bring this leg forward. Okay, so I was a bit too far. Perspective. Okay. This leg needs to come forward a lot more. We also need to make the hip cock a lot more, because we need to be able to make that this leg. So I'll control D to drop him. Okay. And now from the front view, we need to rotate the leg a little bit like that, and there we go. Perspective view. Okay, obviously we need to now lock the hip. Select the foot. Oh. Unpin all. Select the hip. Thank you. Pin translation, pin rotation. Then we grab the right foot. and we come down here and we drag it forward. Okay, now that's better. Now we're going to unpin all. We're going to end up rotating this foot. Go to front view again so we can see the feet a little bit better. And yeah, there we go. Perspective view. Now we're going to rotate. Like that, and it's going to rotate the side to side that way. Rotate a little bit that way. It's a bit too much side to side because some of it needs to come from the chest. And sticking that chest out because he's a cocky SOB. This shoulder will come down a bit and this shoulder will come up. Rotate the arm that way. Rotate the forearm that way. So when we see the rapier. Yeah. So let's zoom out a bit. Now this shoulder, we're going to rotate the shoulder back, out, rotate it down, bend the arm back. Now we're going to make this hand a little bit smaller because otherwise it doesn't quite work in taking a realistic pose that he's about to take. We're going to give him a left fist. Oh, I forgot. It reset the scale. Let's drop that down to about there. We're going to then take the fingers and we're going to bend them a bit further. Also going to kind of X-scale that arm just a little bit. Oh, that's too much on the shoulder and not enough on the upper arm. Like a fencer type. Then there, that helps give, that head position helps give his attitude, well, it's tilt his neck back a little bit more. Now, the next thing we're going to do, we're going to pose his mouth open, but it's going to be more of an evil grin in the final version. So this eyebrow, and then this one. Too much. Okay. When it comes time for sculpting, we're going to give him a bit more of a smile. But one thing we need to do before that is we need to give him teeth. So we're going to go in here, File, Export, Prime Minister, and this is going to be PM Temp. Okay, and pop over to 3D Studio Max. File, Import, Meshes, Legendary Foes, Prime Minister, PM Temp. And what we're simply going to do, delete. File, Import, PM Temp. Import as single mesh. There we go. Now we're going to go over here, unclick Show Posing in Gray, and Freeze Selected. There. Now, we're just going to make a box. Yes, a box. About like that. About like that. And width segments, let's make it 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Editable poly. We're going to bring it forward. And we're going to kind of rotate it a bit so that it's kind of parallel to the face. Actually, we can bring it back a little bit now. Then we're going to bend it. Now, that's not a good direction. Let's try bending on the Y. Nope, and bend it on the X. Okay, bend it on the X is what we want, but we want to go positive. All we want is something that's going to basically fill the gap in there and become teeth. Let's undo some of that. Okay, we're going to give it collapse all. We're also going to now select all these. We're going to connect. Okay, and we're going to chamfer it 3 times, but it's going to be small. About there. We're going to select here, loop, convert it to a selection of vertexes, and we're going to push in. There we go. Collapse all. Now we're going to select all the edges. No, we're going to select not all the edges, but here and here, and then hit loop. We don't want to select these 3 edge loops. And we're going to chamfer 0.01. Or 0.001, let's make it. And then mesh smooth 1, 2. Now, we might still need to tweak the rotation of these teeth. Yeah. Collapse all. And yeah. Now, File, Export selected. Bum 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 bum. Wait for it to OBJ. PM teeth. Export, done. Go back over to here. Make him invisible. Make the rapier visible. File. Export. PM rapier. Accept. Then we're going to hide this. Make the tunic visible. File. Export. PM tunic. Accept. And pop over to ZBrush. Bing! Import. Meshes, Legendary Foes, Prime Minister, PM Temp. Edit. Now we go subtool, append. The very first thing we're going to be appending is the tunic, PM tunic. Then we're going to append, actually let's use insert. Insert automatically selects it. Import PM teeth. Then insert polymesh, import PM rapier. Now, just to show what I mean, we're going to go ahead and let's do that. We're going to use the move tool, and we are going to make sure we turn that on so that it remembers brush sizes per brush. Bring that down to about there. Bring this. And we're going to make the mouse a bit smaller. And we're going to, well, a little bit bigger. And we're going to pull it down to be more of an evil smirk than anything else. Bring the brow out just a little bit to make sure that it's clear. Actually, for that we need to use move topological. So we don't want to bring the eye with it, we want to bring the brow out away from the eye. Okay, there we go. That's the basic. Now we're actually, let's go ahead and bring those teeth up. And we're going to merge down. We're going to zoom back in. Go back to move, because we want to affect the whole thing here. We're going to grab this and pull the whole thing down, because we want to give him room to have the evil Prime Minister mustache. And then we're going to shrink this a bit and bring up the nose. Once again, to have room for the evil Prime Minister mustache. Bring it, narrow the bridge of the nose. And then we're going to geometry, divide, delete lower, Dynamesh, 768. Dynamesh, and then divide, delete lower, 1.8 million to sculpt. We are going to have to definitely go back over the teeth. We're going to use damn standard to do it. Oh, I keep forgetting I need to increase the length of the lazy mouse. Lazy radius, shrink it a little bit more, and drag across. Oh, come on. Yeah, I've made this metaphor before. Mouse versus tablet is like rattle can versus airbrush. Although I keep messing it up. There we go. One. We're also going to kind of pull it down slightly here. Okay, that'll do. Frame out. Now, we need to decide what he's going to look like in terms of garb. So, I'm going to pop back into here, And from here, I'm going to actually go in and open up my reference image directory, because I need to get some good images that are uncopyrighted to use as ideas. For example, there's a Tudor style design. Yeah, I think a good Tudor style would work. Okay, so we're going to pop back into the broadcast. And one of the first things we're going to do, we're going to go back into the subtool, we're going to hide the rapier. We're going to take the tunic, we're going to subdivide it a couple times so it's nice and smooth. We're going to use our move tool, make it a little bit bigger again. And we're basically going to move it so that it blends in with the torso. And then it kind of comes out from between his butt crack. Okay, so now, well, let's shrink this back down and give the hip area a smooth, because it's got some divots in it from doing that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, and now just another brief burst over here. Subtool. Select him. Merge down. Always okay. Geometry. Click and drag. And now it's fused into one. We shrink the mouse. We then come in here and we smooth out where it meets torso to tunic bottom. Whoop. And now we we smooth this area. And we smooth out that. Okay. So now his tunic is there. We're going to smooth this area right here. And smooth this area right here. And his back's good. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make the neckline of his outfit, which is going to be kind of difficult. We've got to be very careful here. If we hide the chin, we still have a lot of chin underneath, so we're just going to have to draw it on and then erase the part that's under the chin. So, going for an even smaller look, and this time we're actually going to turn on lazy mouse, because we do want a bit of a smooth curve here. And we're going to come from here, going to turn on that focal shift, come around the neck. Come around this way, come around back down. We're going to go ahead and erase this just because we want it to be even. And then we can see, let's make the chest invisible, and there and there. And we can see what we need to do on the neck. So we're going to turn this way. We're going to rotate it until this line here is almost parallel to the ground. Yeah. And then we're going to erase by a rectangle. think I'm gonna go here. Now we're gonna go underneath. And let's make this kind of more even here. And here. Frame out. And now we're going to go to extract. We're going to extract a 0.03. Accept, draw. Select him and draw to get rid of the masking. Now we're going to go down to here. We're going to use the move tool with a pretty decent sized brush. We're going to turn on transparency. I'm going to grab here and pull it down so it's clear that it's resting. It's resting on the underside of his chin, not poking through. Also going to kind of inflate this area just a little bit. Okay. Frame back out. He's got one of those collars. Now we're going to geometry. We're going to Z remesh because we want to simplify some things. And what we're going to do is we're going to take adaptive size to 100, target poly count to 0.01. Z remesh it. Okay, and that brought us down to 4,000, and what that did was it got rid of a lot of the mess around the top and bottom of it. We're going to subdivide it. So we get to one more. Yep. Now we're going to go to subtool. We're going to merge it down and then draw. Then on the underside only, we're going to smooth it. That blends up into the bottom of that collar. So this way it looks like the collar's going, it's clearly going up from the neck into that collar. And a kind of a Tudor, Elizabethan Tudor look to it. You can give this a little bit more to really sell it back here. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That little, yeah, that really sells it. And then looking at the image, this is not a copyrighted image, thankfully. We're going to be focusing on this guy over here, although without the massive cod piece. We're going to come down around the collar area with a seam and another seam. And then we're going to add in some further seams and some wrist cuffs. Okay, we're going to start with seam 16. We're going to make sure that lazy mouse is still on. Lazy res 40 is good. This intensity, make it 20. I said 20, not 10. And then we're going to No, wrong one. Make it bigger. 1, 2. And that came out pretty nice. And then we're going to come around from here and just kind of go around here. Then we're going to come up from the center there. Then we're going to layer. Switch it from dots to drag dot and switch the alpha to 48, which is a spherical alpha. Intensity 100. And let's drop that draw size to about there. We're going to draw on some knobular buttons. There we go. Now, he has a belt, so we're going to go ahead and hide the hand, and the fingers, and the thumb, and the arm. We're going to look at what angle his belt would probably be at. It'd probably be like this, and we're going to just, that's too much. Bring it back a bit. And then belt. Yeah, that'd be perfect for his belt. And this is going to be extract 0.02. Accept, draw, click on him, draw. And on the belt, we're going to insert gemstone, which actually includes a buckle, don't ask why. We're then going to come over here and under depth, make sure that's at 0, because we don't want this to be too big. And then we're gonna go here and go up, no, go down, yeah. And come out until, yeah, that's almost perfect. Then we're going to split unmasked parts, because it needs to be, this needs to be Z-remeshed. Put that there for a second. Get some soda while it's calculating. I said get some soda while it's calculating. Thank you. And then subdivide it until it's smooth. Lower. Select the buckle. Subdivide it a couple times because it's kind of faceted. And then merge down. Yeah. That's the belt. Now we're going back to him. And if we look here, we can see he's got like trim, double-sided trim going down the center of his chest and down the shoulders. So we're going to go back to our seam 16, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to come up from here and then back down. Then we're going to come down from here. And this kind of continues on under and comes back up to there. And then we're going to come from here and come down and come around under and come back up. Although that second time I just screwed up. So we're just going to well, first of all, we're going to increase the lazy radius a good bit. God, no! No backdrap. No, lazy radius up to there, yeah. And we're going to start from here, and we're going to follow along under there. We're going to stop at the belt because we don't need to go under the belt. And then from here, we're going to come back up. We're then going to come around here, and we're going to just to clearly have a start and end to that little trim. There we go. We're then going to bring, with the transparency on, going to bring it. What the heck was that? We're going to bring it up here, just because. And we are going to go ahead and add in the down seam with it. Now, we're going to turn that off. We're going to make our cuffs. Now, if we look at his cuffs, we see they're he's got poofy sleeves and then he's got little cuffs. So, we're going to select his sleeves as a mask. Make sure to erase that. And we're going to have to do, there we go, hide the hands and thumb because we don't want to get them caught up in this. And up there. Okay, and then we're going to erase the bottom portion of that because we don't want it taking part of the forearm. Okay, make sure we don't have anything else. Click. Yeah. Okay, there we go. That's going to be our sleeves, but what we're going to do is we're going to grow them a little bit before we extract them. Masking. Grow, 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 sharpen, sharpen. And yeah, that's good enough. Subtool, extract 0.03. Extract. Nope. 0.02. Extract. Accept. Draw. Now we're going to geometry. We are going to dynamesh it to 256. And before we do anything else, we're going to go over to standard brush so we can get a decent size. And we're going to smooth them down at the back edge, so that they will blend into the arm a little bit easier. And there we go. Then we're going to subdivide it a couple times and merge down. And we're going to change our dynamesh from 768 to 1280. Okay. Frame. Zoom in. Shrink that. And then smooth. Well, Dynamesh. There we go. Blend it in. Blend it in. Blend it in. We're going to get back to those and make them all poofy and all that and puffed and slashed after we finish making the rest of the clothing, which pretty much now only consists of the wrist cuffs and the shoes. Frame out. Okay. Now his wrist cuffs we'll handle much the same way we handled his collar. Gonna draw a bit at the wrist. Just mask off just a bit. Make sure that we don't get part of the hand. Frame out. That left wrist, let's make sure we get a little bit more, because we need to make it just a little bit thicker. There, that's about equal. Now we go to extract, back to 0.03. Accept, draw. And these suckers, we're going to do what we did with the neck piece. We're going to, actually, we're going to go ahead and just Dynamesh it. 256, Dynamesh, divide. And we're going to merge down. And do that. Now, we're going to use the mouse instead of the stylus for this. We're going to shrink this down until it's about there. I'm going to hit it with the smooth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Make it kind of blend in a bit. Actually, that's not enough. Not big enough. There we go. Yeah, there we go. That makes them look more like a coherent part of the sleeve. And right here. I guess you could also end up using this figure for a snooty rogue swashbuckler, or a fighter with the noble background who prefers the rapier, which is not a bad option. It has character to it. He buckles his swashes. There we go. I'm just going to smooth that a little bit. Here. And that is his upper torso clothing done. Until we get to round 2, wrinkling it. After we do his shoes, we're going to tweak his hands to make him a bit more realistic. Then we're going to do his hair and his evil mustache. Now we look back on our picture and we can see his shoes are effectively just shoes. They're almost slippers. So what we're going to do is we're just going to use the seam tool again. We're going to drop that laser mouse radius back down to 20. Okay. And we're going to start here. We're going to come here. We're just going to go, oh, wrong way. Let's start from here. We're going to go back around and up a little bit. Almost like ballet slippers. And then up and over. There we go. Now we're going to do the same thing on this side. And then up and over. And kind of back this way a little bit. Yeah, that's his shoes. Literally, that's all he does for his shoes at this point in time. However, he is going to have one other thing. I don't know if you noticed, but the guy in the picture had a little string around his thigh. What that probably represented was that he was an Order of the Garter. Might be something akin in our little fantasy world. So he's going to have a little string on his thigh to represent that he's actually a member of a knighthood. Now we're going to extract this without the double on at 0.015. Extract, accept. Perfect. It's almost a square cross section, which is what we want, because when we smooth it out and everything, it's going to become round. So geometry, we are actually going to dynamesh it at 512. And then we're going to deformation, we're going to inflate a little bit. And then we're going to polish 100, 100, 100, 100, 100, 100. And keep doing this as the rounder it gets, and the rounder it gets. There. Now, geometry, divide, divide. Yeah. Okay, he's already looking pretty snooty nobly. So now we need to tweak his hands. Actually, let's go ahead and we need to make sure that the belt stays a separate piece. We can worry about the garter later too. We're going to inflate, and we're going to make sure the draw size is 11. And we're going to start off with the inside of the thumb, because that tends to get a bit warped because of the way I rigged the base figure. I really should create a default morph for the hands to shift them. Okay, that's the thumb. Now the back of the hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and blend the back of it, because those tendons tend to go underneath other tendons and underneath layers of subcutaneous fat, and yeah, and then knuckle here, and then a little bit further forward, back the same as the first finger, a little bit further back, a little bit further forward, back the same as the first finger, a little back, and just one quick swipe over each finger to smooth out those knuckles a little bit, and presto, we have a much more realistic hand, especially when it gets printed. Now, on the other hand, the back of the hand is simple. All we got to do is just the 1, 2, 3, 4, and smooth it out. Here, however, we've got to inflate the thumb. And let's hide the hip so I can get inside there. And inflate in here. And then we need to inflate a knuckle and a knuckle. Move them out a little bit. And then we need to go in here and inflate the inner hand. It's going to be kind of difficult, but just enough so that it closes off inside this hand and makes it easier to deal with when it comes time to print. And the same thing up here, but we're going to have to hide the chest and pectoral and turn on transparency so we can go through this. Hide that. Yeah. Now we need to go here. Okay. Once again, we're closing off the top of the fist. Okay. And that's the hands. Frame out. So now it's time for his hair and mustache. Then it will be wrinkly time. And we have spent an hour doing this already, and apparently I've got absolutely nobody watching but me. Okay. Now, let's select the head, and zoom in, and then deselect. And we're going to the standard brush because we're going to shrink it down. And we're going to look back over here and see what his hair looks like. Looks very short. There's not a lot of long hair on these guys. We're not going to give him that cloak, but we might give him a medallion of some kind. But we're going to start with the mustache. So we need a very small brush. And what we're going to do is we're going to just kind of come here, come up, and come over. Come out a little bit and trim down. Come around, come out, come over. A bit higher here. Then we're going to trim the corner. Now, we're going to extract it at, 0.1. Oh, sorry, 0.01. Accept, draw, draw. Now this, what we're going to do, we're going to go to geometry, we're going to Z-remesh with adaptive off. And we're going to go for half, and we're going to start doing this until we get some nice shapes. Okay, now we're going to choose a bigger brush, one that I've already set to be a little bit bigger. And we're going to smooth it gently. Oh no. Did I? Yes, I did. So Control Z. I forgot one thing. I forgot to turn double back on. It needs to go inside the face as well. Okay. Geometry. Polygon count 0. Oh. Target polygon count 3. Z-remesh. Bluey. Alright, now we're going to smooth it just a bit to make it a bit rounder. And then we're going to Dynamesh it at 256. Divide, divide, divide. Delete lower. I'm going to go to slash, add, drop that intensity to 8. Turn off lazy mouse and shrink the mouse. And all we're going to do is just add in a couple of lines that may or may not even show up. But it'll help give the feel of a mustache and not just skin if it does print. Frame out. Okay. Now the hair. If we use that historically accurate hair, it'll look odd to modern eyes, because we're used to seeing not historically accurate hair, but characters like the Sheriff of Nottingham and stuff like that. So we're going to give him a fancy updo type thing. Go back to standard. We're going to draw on his hair hairline. He's going to have the widow's peak because, you know, evil and widow's peak, you know. And pull this out. Make the muscle a little bit bigger. Okay, there we have our, let's kind of pull it back a little bit further on each side. There we go. And now we're going to extrude it at 0.02. Or extract it at 0.02. Extract. Oh! I forgot. Forgot to remove the mask from under the that. 0.015. Extract. Accept. Draw. Select him and draw to get rid of that mask. Wait a minute, what? Oh, yeah. Split unmasked part, split masked parts. Delete. Okay. And I also did it on the mustache. So, split masked parts. Delete. Okay. There. Now, for that hair, we now have to make it into an actual hairstyle. So we're gonna zoom back in on it, zoom out. Yeah, he's got a like a porn stash. I know what I'm gonna do real quick. Deformation, inflate. I'm going to make that stash inflate. Because we want that stash to be like uber stash. There we go. Got that Magnum PI stash going. Now, back to the geometry. We're going to diminish this to 256. Dynamesh. Okay, we're going to 1, 2. We're going to kind of smooth over the edges here so that they kind of blend a bit better into the head and behind. Alright, now we're going to use the clay buildup brush with the round Alpha 01 to build up the shape. And it's going to come... Okay, we need to make it a little bit stronger. That. And just kind of come back like that, and then a little bit more like that. Okay. Now we're going to go back to subdivide it a few times, and we're going to shrink the mouse 1, 2, and we're going to kind of once again go over the areas that we're going to be making into locks. And this guy sure as heck won't ever give to Locks for Love. I can guarantee that. He's just a little snotty, little evil... Go, why should I help those less fortunate than me? If they wanted to be more fortunate, they should have been born rich. Yes, really. The nerve of the poor. It's their fault for being born that way. They could have chosen better parents. Yes, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's really got a nice... Actually, he's almost got a 70s porn star vibe. Yes. Now we're going to slash. Because Axl Rose couldn't make it, so we're going to slice it 15, and we're going to kind of come around like that. Actually, we need to make this bigger. Yeah. Now we go back to add and drop it back down to 8. And we're just going to kind of draw on the ridge of where the a peak for that particular lock would be. And in the case of these side locks, it's going to be there. Yeah, okay, just making sure. And then we're going to have the top locks and the equivalent bottom locks be not quite on center with each other. Okay, and bring that kind of there, and bring that to there. And then this one's going to come like that. And then this one's going to come from down there. And there we go. And then we're going to come under here just to kind of pull that out, make it less like a hat rim. Now we're going to frame out. Get some soda, and it's time to start wrinkling. Which everything that needs to be wrinkled is on him. So we need to make him. Yeah. Okay, now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to break back open with the clay buildup tool. But we're going to make it a bit bigger. Because this is going to be for them poofy sleeves. And what's going to be, we're going to start off. Actually, we're going to change those alpha back to let's see, alpha 6, because this is going to be for a puff and slash. And we're going to smooth out where it meets the shoulder. We're going to go back to slash, sub 15. And we're going to basically draw little teardrops on each of these. Not so much teardrops as ellipses. Okay. Yeah, that's looking good. That's looking pretty much the way we want it to look. Now we're going to go back to clay buildup, and we're going to do the other arm. I'm going to start up here. And then smooth out where they meet the sleeve, or the shoulder rather. Underarm. Go to slash. And then draw in our ellipses again. Some of these you don't really need the ellipses because they're so tight. Some of them you do because it helps define the slashes. Oh, that one didn't work well. Let's go here and back around. Okay. Now we're going to go to add, drop that back down to 10. A lot of times when I make these numbers, I'm going by what has worked in the past and what will likely work in the present. And I'm just going to draw and sharpen the edge of each of these slashes. Make them look not quite so soft. Make it look more like creased fabric there, which is what it was. It's called puffed and slashed, but it wasn't really slashed. It was really pleated. So there we go. Oh yeah, that looks great on this side. Now we got to do it on the other side. Yeah, he looks like a grade A creep. Once again, he's got a porn stash and a creeper hairdo. And he's trying to take over the kingdom in secret while maintaining the king's trust. Or pretending to. And he's got a small cadre of soldiers that are loyal to him and not the king. Because he's like convinced them that the king is secretly evil and only he can save the kingdom from the evil king. And you know, he makes the king, or he suggests that the king give these really, really horrible proclamations and then says, "Look what the king did this week. Good Lord, if only I could get the throne, I could stop this evil." Now we're going to add in some wrinkles in the underarm area. It's going to be only a couple. But it's going to be, you know, kind of deep. Just a little. Oh, no, that one didn't do well. Yeah. And over here, we're just going to kind of give it a bit of a then we're going to go to add. We're actually going to make it bigger. And we're going to kind of just gently stroke. Okay, I don't. On top of where these wrinkles are. Because this is a heavier fabric than the usual tunic. Oh. And it's a brief smooth over this area. Let's go ahead and redig that. Okay. Frame out. Okay, and about the only thing left to do is put some wrinkles in the back of his knees, and then we're going to get into decorating his rapier. Because do you think any evil vizier or prime minister worth his salt is going to have just a run-of-the-mill rapier? No. I'm going to bring this out just a little bit. Slightly wrinkly hose. Slightly wrinkly. Just enough to get the message across that this is like cloth, not legs. He doesn't have bare legs. And then we're gonna put some wrinkles on the top of the foot. And there, and then a couple on top of the toe. And then just whoop, 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 whoop. Frame out, zoom out. And here we go. Our evil prime minister. Make the rapier visible. Bing! Frame out a little bit more. And we're going to subdivide it quite a bit. Well, we gotta select set. Well, let's go ahead and merge down all of the parts of the prime minister so that they're all visible. Switch to him, geometry, subdivide it until it's 1.4. Yeah, there we go. And then we're going to dynamesh it at 1280. And then subdivide it again. And we now have our rapier, but we're going to do something on the front of the rapier. Let's see. What are we going to do with the front of the rapier? The last time I sculpted anything on the rapier, I turned it into a rose. He obviously would not have a rose. However, he might have, let's point these. And that's, no. We need to make that depth of embed 0. Okay, so come around, and we're going to subtool split unmasked parts, and then split unmasked parts. Yep. on the very bottom, however, it's going to be a round one with an embed of -20. And we're going to make sure it's all nice and pointing straight up, and then we're going to use the move. We're going to actually, let's scale it down just a little. We're going to move it up so that it's, yeah, that'll do. And then split unmasked parts. And we're going to merge all three of these down to each other. Merge down, down. Geometry. Divide, divide. Delete lower. And let's frame on the rapier again. Going to give it some unique. Okay, now onto the front of the rapier. Is anyone there? Oh, hey, Mark. Any idea, any suggestions on what to put on the handguard of the rapier? Because, like I said, last time I ended up turning it into a rose. This time I want to make it something a little bit. It's not going to be hugely visible on the figure, but I want to be something that's clearly not just a sheet of metal. And unlike many of my recent sculpts, it looks like this one's actually going to be done before the end of the show. Yeah. I might even be able to make the default bases, which really and truly are the last things I need to sculpt. Now, the thing to remember is, after I finish these sculpts, I still have to finish the PDFs for their adventures, for the encounters and campaign ideas built around them, as well as what you can use them as in a typical D&D session if you don't want to use them as their unique characters. Yeah. Evil Prime Minister or snotty swashbuckler, your choice. Any suggestions, Mark? Are you still there? Anyone? Any suggestions? Alright, let's see. He's not going to have anything evil on it, because he doesn't want to advertise as evil on. He's not going to carry around the symbol of chaos on his rapier when he's supposedly serving the king or emperor or whoever. I said, any ideas for what to put on the face of the rapier here, on the handguard? It's literally the last thing. And again, I don't want it to be evil. Ooh, how about a fleur-de-lis? Okay? A fleur-de-lis. And the way I'm going to do it, I'm going to go back to my standard brush. I'm going to shrink it down. I'm going to mask off a drawing of a fleur-de-lis. And then sharpen that. And that. And that. And that. Let's bring this down a bit so I can sharpen it. And let's make sure I remove it from this. Then I'm going to shrink this even more. Go back up here and I'm going to turn on lazy mouse for this, so I'm making sure these are clear. I'm going to unmask. And then just kind of derp up. There. And I do this. Now, next thing is I go to deformation and I'm going to inflate this so that it sticks out from the handguard. Okay. Now, I'm going to go to standard, I'm on the standard brush. I'm going to increase the size of it quite a bit. And modifiers. Where is it? Nope. Where is... I'm going to shrink it down. And I'm going to turn off lazy mouse, drop it down quite a bit, and just kind of go over the edges. It'll be subtle, but it will really catch the paintbrush tips. Oh. Come around. And here. Alright, we're going to make it bigger again. And this time, we're going to very gently do that. Now we frame out. And here is our Prime Minister. We are going to... What's the matter, baby girl? Oh, baby girl. You wanted your pettings before you went to go get dinner. That's what you wanted. Yeah, good girl. Okay, good girl. Now we're going to merge down. We are then going to Dynamesh. Okay, zoom in. We're going to shrink the mouse a little bit for this and bring that smooth back up to 100. We're going to smooth up the edge of this belt flap. And then we're also going to smooth around the seam of the gem on the bottom of the pommel. Actually, we can do that with a bigger and 1, 2. Oh. In case you're wondering, when I say 1, 2, I'm tapping the 1 on the number row twice, and it redoes what I just did. And then here we're also going to kind of blend it because it's kind of merged with the pommel. There we go. All right, frame out. Our evil Prime Minister. Yeah. He's definitely got a lot of character to him, and he really has that nobleman flair with the puffed in slash sleeves and the cuffs on the sleeves and the collar, and then the garter around the leg and the little slipper-like shoes. So, we are now going to go ahead and we're going to do a bonus. We're going to append another poly mesh, and we're going to import base flat. And we're going to move it so that it's in the right place for him. I'm going to bring it forward a little bit so that he's a bit more balanced on the base, and then over to the side. Now, we're going to hide our Prime Minister. Actually, we're going to duplicate him first, and then hide him. There's a reason for that. Now, on this base, we are now going to go Geometry, Dynamesh at 512, and then subdivide until it's about 2. Yeah, that'll do. Then zoom out, and we are going to mask off all but the top edge. So now it's got that. Yay! We're going to go back to layer. Change it from drag dot to drag rectangle. And change the alpha actually I put this one under Legendary Foes, Cobblestone. This is the same one that I used for the basis for the ogres, or for the minotaurs rather. But what we're going to do is we're going to... Whoa, that's too big. Let's drop that down to about here. Not enough, not deep enough. Let's go take the alpha and modify, and we're going to make the mid value, instead of 0, 35. And let's change that intensity to 25. And then we're going to just click on the edge, and we're going to make it... Oh, that's way too much. Control Z. Let's make that 25 back to 18. There we go. That's a nice deep cobblestone base. We're now gonna, once again, we're going to save this just for the sake of saving it. Plus, I'll be taking that base and copying it. Now that I've done that, I'm going to Dynamesh it again. Drop it back down to our 269, and I'm going to export this as cobble base. Now, we are going to move it up above our new duplicate Prime Minister. Our duplicate Prime Minister is going to get his crescent on. And then he's going to get his polygroup set to Dynamesh sub. What this lets us do is it's going to subtract this duplicate Prime Minister from the base, letting us see where his feet go. And actually, Control Z, duplicate him, merge him down, or move him down. There's one thing we forgot to do. We're going to inflate him. Now, the reason we inflated him was so that there would be a bit of a tolerance between the footprints in the base and the figure himself. Now, polygroups, groupers Dynamesh sub, subtool, merge down, and draw. If you look, you'll see that there is, in fact, a slight rim around his feet on the base. But here is Mr. Prime Minister and his base. They will be separate, so that if people want, they can print him and put him on bases of their own choosing. But what we got to do now is go to Z plugin and Decimation Master. The base was currently selected. It's going to be 20K. Bing! And it still looks good. Okay, now on him, we're actually going to go to 50K. No, we're going to go 75K. He doesn't have a lot of detail, but we want to make sure that what detail he has is really sharp. Like the teeth, the fleur-de-lis on the front of his rapier, and the gems, and the puffed-in slash sleeves. So, 75K. Yes, I said. And reordering, and presto. Right. There we go. That is our Prime Minister. Just for the sake of showing him off, turn these off and modifier turntable. And there he is. Ready to lead his soldiers against your player characters who would dare challenge his attempts at claiming the throne. So, you like him? I based him off, I think you may or may not have seen it, I based him off a Tudor painting. So, the only thing I didn't include his mantle because it kind of covers up too much cool stuff. It looks good on the painting, and it's appropriate for the time, but it takes away from the form language, I think. So as of now, the only thing I have left to do, actually I can do it now too. I'm going to go ahead and go back to ZBrush. Let me go ahead and save this out. Save as PM temp. That's when I'm going to replace it. And I'm going to load soldier. You may or may not remember the soldier from the other night. Well, let me go ahead and hide everything but one of the bodies. And I'm going to duplicate the body. And then move it down to the very bottom. I'm going to go up to the shield and I'm going to insert polymesh. Import cobble base. Actually, I think the cobble base can be moved just a little bit more that way for these guys. A little bit more forward. And let's look at those feet. Yeah. We're going to inflate. Well, first of all, we're going to dynamesh our soldier. We're going to inflate him 10. And then draw to redynamesh. Polygroups. Well, first of all, we need to make him crescent. And group as dynamesh sub. Going back to the cobble base, geometry, dynamesh. Okay, he's good. Merge down and draw. Bing! We have our base for the soldiers now. And let's go back to 20k dynamesh. Or get the 20k decimate. And bing! It's done. All of the sculpting for my next Kickstarter is done. Save as Soldier Z tool. Yes, I want to replace it. And go back here. And that's that. So, yay! Okay. Now, it's now 9:17. I've been on since 7:30. It's been pretty much a full show. I did the full sculpt of the evil Prime Minister and his base, added the base for the soldiers, got all of my sculpting done for the start of the Kickstarter. Stretch goals will be as demanded as they hit. I'll sculpt the stretch goals. But most of them are down here. Like the Necromancer and his undead version. You can tell because one of them has hair and the other one doesn't, and yeah. Anyway, the Minotaurs, the Stormdrake, the Frost Wyvern, the Feldrakes, the Spectres. Yep. Okay, now I still have a lot of regular work left to do. And I still have a lot of writing to do, because I need to write their backstories, encounter ideas, campaign ideas, in some cases stat blocks. Like, these guys just count as normal Minotaurs, but he's a Minotaur Lord. This is a larger than normal Wyvern, that's sapient. And this is a larger than the normal Chimera. And Feldrakes, well, they don't really have stat blocks. Yet. So anyway, I'm probably going to go ahead and call it a night here. It was a successful sculpt night. And I like to think that it may not be a perfect figure, but by God, that guy's got character. He really fits how I was picturing him in my head. He just really feels like an evil nobleman. With the Tom Selleck mustache and the windswept updo. So anyway, I'm going to hold up my hand. I'm going to count down from 5 to 1. And when I get to 1, I'm going to say something goofy and go, and when I see it go, then I'm going to go ahead and log out, because that means I've caught up with the inbuilt lag of YouTube. Okay, so that's going to be a 5, a 4, a 3, Scout's Honor, 2, Cub Scout's Honor, 1. Which is better, Tudor or Fordor? Or Hodor? Good night.